Hi, everybody. My name is Brandon. I'm the founder of Science is Weird. I'm a homeschooling dad of like 2 1/3 of a kid. Difficult kids, wonderful kids, smart kids, kids who have behavior problems in ordinary schools. But this isn't about me. Yeah, you probably know a bit about me. Sorry, some of you I know have been part of Science is Weird since the beginning. Some of you, I don't even know why you're here, but hi, it's good to have you here. Some of you are totally new to this or have not quite decided whether this thing is for you. I will try to give you a sense of that. You should know about me that as a kid, I was interested in every single subject because I just was. My parents let me have free reign of a library, and I just taught myself enough about all the subjects to find them fascinating. In school, even when it was very boring, was easy for me because of that, except for one subject, and that was science. I always found that science classes in school were so boring that I could never get any purchase on them. And when I was in high school, I just took the minimum number of sciences that I needed. And then when I was in college, I took the 2 easiest science classes that I could possibly do. Geology, I learned almost no geology. Not a terrible class, but I learned almost no geology, and geography. And then I was like, okay, great. Who cares about science? And then I got married and we moved, and I happened to read some really great books on science. I was like, wait a second, this is science. I had been a humanities major, history, world religions, and lots of philosophy classes, that sort of thing. And I realized that science is, at its core, a human thing. I fell in love with it, and I have over the years taught many things to many ages of people. Philosophy and cooking and music and math and writing. And I taught a college course in high level reading strategies. And I taught psychology, and I taught sociology, and I taught religious world religions, and I taught history, and I taught all of the other topics except for science. And then we started, my wife and I opened up a micro school inside of our Seattle apartment, and we had to teach science. And I fell in love with teaching science. After that, we got jobs teaching at this startup elementary school where I was the curriculum architect for it, and I built this really amazing science curriculum. I stand by the science curriculum today, and that became the seed of Science is Weird, which started in the pandemic when we were off for a few weeks for spring break, and we were the second, I think we tied to be the second elementary school in the nation to go fully online. Seattle at the time was, it's a long story. And so I put up a thing on Facebook saying like, hey, I've just taught this really great week-long course to my students on the physics of water. Who would be interested in this? We got like 25 signups or something like that. And thus was Science is Weird born, and everything has just been, I don't know, downhill or uphill or whatever your metaphor is from there. Been ever more wonderful, ever more difficult, ever more meaningful. So Science is Weird is born of that experience. Let me talk about Science is Weird. I will try to explain these things using the website here. So I'm going to go to scienceisweird.com/year 3. Feel free to follow along at home or just to watch me do this. This page is not fully built right now, but doesn't need to be for us. You should know the really basics of class that I always forget to talk about is that class happens once a week. Every lesson starts with a riddle. It can be usually a very simple question. And that the answer by the end is not just some fact, but is some deep insight into how the universe works that you never saw coming. In fact, ideally, that is the opposite as to what you've always assumed. And then to get from point A to point B, it's not just a linear sort of path. It's the sort of wending path where I don't just lecture. I drop metaphors, and I tell stories, and I pose riddles, and I pose puzzles maybe. I show these like weird images, and I get kids to kind of guess and figure out what the heck it is that's going on, so that by the end they have figured it out. I'm really proud of the, I don't know, 180-ish lessons that I've made in the past. I am ridiculously proud of most of them. I'm proud of almost all of them. Every once in a while I'll have a dud. The way that we work is, I'll show you this again, is that we do topics. Every topic gets 5 weeks, 1 lesson per week. We have a secret 6th week for students who show that they are really, really interested in the thing by doing the deep dives. I'll show those in just a few minutes. And then we switch to a new topic. This year we have toasters, and we have ice cream, and we have mouths, and we have hills. This is my favorite class. This is my very, very favorite class ever. I don't say that about other classes. It really is my favorite class of all the 6 years that we're doing this. Viruses, and then finally evolution, which is such a fun class. We do this because science is a tower here. So let me go now to scienceisweird.com/everything. We started back in 2020. We did it for 3 years. We started, at first we started like doing like 5 lessons a week. And then we're like, oh, this is way too hard. Let's just do 2 new lessons a week. And then we just started making those like so bulky and amazing and longer and more in depth. We're like, okay, this is too much. Like, let's just do 1 lesson per week. So after the course of 3 years of this, we had like 200 lessons that we had done. And we realized, okay, like we could just keep adding new ones on, but we are facing this issue where any new student, we have a mix of new students and old students, and the new students have no idea what the things the old students realize is. And wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be amazing if we made this thing that almost does not exist in the world, which is that we had this comprehensive curriculum, this curriculum which like builds, that agglutinates as a snowball rolling downhill. Turns out, by the way, that metaphor is never quite right. A snowball rolling downhill because of really interesting questions of cohesion and weight and mass and Newtonian things. Can actually only get so large, large enough to kill you if it's going fast enough, by all means. Like, it doesn't just get bigger, but this kind of does. So if you go to scienceisweird.com/everything, this is like my favorite thing on the website, honestly. The sciences sit together as this sort of tower. I learned this through the book, The Canon by, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting her name right now, Natalie Angier, New York Times columnist, wrote this book on science because she didn't understand science that well. And so she wrote this book on science. It's one of the best books on science ever written. Physics is the, let me tell you the joke version of this. In college, you find out that psychology is really biology, that biology is really chemistry, and that chemistry is really physics. Now, we have put a few other layers in this because, frankly, you need earth science, and I don't know where earth science should go, but we put it in a certain place. And we put below biology, we put anatomy. And of course, zoology is really just a type of biology. So we've kind of messed up this, but it works. I stand by it. So what we do every single year is we go through physics and chemistry and anatomy, earth science, or planetary science, honestly, more accurately, biology and zoology. And we do one of these things. Note that we pick these really boring topics that usually have an emoji that is related to them, which is to say that there is something going on here where people just think about their guts a lot. That's year 4 anatomy. People just think about fire a lot. People don't think about, I don't know, lipids a lot, but people do think about ice cream and soap. We pick these quote unquote boring topics. I mean, some of these are frankly not boring topics at all. Some of these are too feisty. I'm looking at you, nuclear power. We pick these, I don't know, straightforward topics that, people kind of feel like they understand. And then we tear them open. And for every one of these, we give these 5 different lessons with a secret 6th lesson. That each of those lessons go into some facet, some piece of these things. I'll be giving you in a few minutes examples of what we're doing with toasters and ice cream and mouths and hills and viruses and evolution this year. Not in any particular order, except for the order that I just gave it as. I always stink at talking about the most boring aspect of this, which is just like the What are the thing? How do we do, like, what are you signing up for? So let me just spend a minute talking about that. If you go to, actually, where is it on here? You know what? Here, sorry, the obvious answer to this is, let me go back to the top. If you go to the grab a seat button, and you look at our big science course, this is what we are talking about today. We have other things too. We're not going to be talking about any of these things today, but man, some of these things are really fun. Not talking about these. Tomorrow, we're actually doing our comics courses, our open house for our comics courses. That's going to be really interesting. There's some other things too. This summer, I did this whole homeschooling workshops thing. Oh my gosh, it's so great. So proud of that. That's going somewhere really exciting come fall. But today, ADHD, sorry. Literal diagnosed and all that. Also, both of my kids have ADHD. Also, a really atypical number of science is weird families have ADHD in them. Also ASD, also gifted and talented. We did a survey some years ago. I should get some newer numbers on this. Okay, great. Note that we have 3 different offerings here. I'll start with the cheapest one, and I'll work my way to the most expensive one. So the recordings. If you go to so one of the things that we offer is the recordings of all of the topics that we have done before since we restarted in a couple of years ago with our year 1 of the big course. Which starts with the universe is weird and water is weird and lungs are weird and the things that you saw in that first rung of that. Those are some dang good classes. I'm proud of those classes. So if you click on recordings, you can click on this link right here. It's funny that doesn't underline it. Where that will take you is a very short little page right here, which will then take you to Thinkific. Thinkific is a platform that is for online recorded classes. We built this business on Zoom because, I don't know, that was just the thing that was easiest at the time, and frankly, I like it. It works for our live classes really quite well. But if you click this button, then you actually go to our Thinkific site. Note, this is not at sciencesweird.com anymore. We are now at a totally different website. We should maybe put this, like the background is a slightly different color or something like this. For $40, sorry, is it $40 a month? I should really know the answer to this. I think it's $40 a month. Yeah, good. It is. I do know the answer to that. For $40 a month, you can get a subscription that will allow you access to any and all of these. You can go through them as quickly or as slowly as you would like to. These are years 1 and 2 of everything that we have taught. Universe, water, lungs, clouds, bacteria, snails. Note that that's year 1. There are 6 topics in each year. You don't need to memorize that or anything silly like that. But note that the color coding is sort of attempting to show you. Where we're going from physics to chemistry to anatomy to earth science is green right there, to biology, which usually in practice means microbiology or botany or fungusology. Fungology? Someone help me out. What's the word there? I'm missing a very important word there. The blue one is anyway, and then zoology is the purple one. And then we start over. Here's the year 2 stuff. The beautiful thing is, because all of these things build on each other, you don't need to care that some of them are year 1 and year 2. The most common question that we get is, do you actually need to start at the beginning, or can you just plunge in anywhere? The answer, I'm happy to say, is do whatever you want. I'm not your dad. It is designed that you start at the beginning and you go all the way through. Because every lesson is a riddle, there are spoilers, right? Like the ideal Science is Weird course Science is Weird lesson at the end of it has you go, because you've just seen something that you had gone your entire life assuming the very opposite. There are spoilers, so it may be that you want to start at the beginning and go all the way through. That said, you can do whatever you want. If your kid knows a lot about science already, they'll be fine. They'll be fine starting in the middle of this, or at least this is what I hear from people. Now, if you try this and you find out that this is not to your liking, that you do want to start back at the beginning, if you already are having the recordings, great, just go back to the beginning. It's super easy. If you are doing any of our live classes and say, oh, this is not working for you, well, I have great news for you. We have a ridiculously generous discount. not discount, what's the word for this? Return policy. Guarantee. There we go. Going to the very bottom, you can see all of our pages linked to the bottom. I'm looking for the word guarantee. There it is. About us, our guarantee. Sorry, it's a bad French accent. I should try not to do that in the future. Take your money back, please. If in your first 5-week science topic, your kid does them both, learn more science than they did all last school year and have more fun than they've ever had in a science class before, you'll get all your money for that topic back, no questions asked, as judged by you. We sometimes make people very, very happy when they're in our classes. There are lots of other people who are not happy in our classes. In fact, if you were interested in that, and you want the spiciest page on our site, you can go to Hate Us. Also, Flat Earth is interesting here. There are reasons that people don't like our classes. All of these things are things that we have taken a stand on, and we're okay with not being everything to everyone. We're not secretly trying to convince your kid of a religion. We're not secretly trying to convince your kid of evolution. We're openly trying to convince you of evolution. We're not secretly trying to do it. More on that anon. We're not secretly trying to convince your kids of any political ideas. We talk about political ideas. We talk about religious ideas. We talk about philosophical ideas, because science, in order to actually be wonderful, has to talk about these things, because science is a human thing. We talk about sex. You can talk about you can see the specifics of what we do talk about and don't talk about here. But sometimes we've gotten attacked on certain internet sites that I will not say the names of right now because of almost any of these. No one's attacked us for the politeness policy, though. We have shut down people before based on that. Yeah, great. Wonderful. So you can hate us and whatever. If you hate us, if you don't like what you're getting, please take your money back from the last month or whatever it says on that page here. The ridiculous guarantee will give you your money from that topic back, which is say the last month of that. Yeah. Great. Why am I talking about this right now? Because I have ADHD. Honestly, I think it is kind of useful that I talked about this, but let's go back to this Thinkific site. So we have, so this is the recordings for this. You can sign up for this. This is the cheapest way that you can take our stuff. Going back to our Grab a Seat page, which is always, there's a upper right button, grab a seat on all of the web pages that allow you to get here. You can also sign up for the live webinar. Now, the recordings are recordings of the live webinar. The live webinar is $50 a month for the 9 months of the school year. I'm clicking on this and then I'm waiting because I am a very patient person. Sounds like it's my mantra or something, right? Someday maybe this will work. The webinar happens every Wednesday at, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. It's done like this literal meeting is right now. It's done over Zoom. It's done as a webinar, which is to say that people, the kids, which we have, I don't know, somewhere between 20 and 30 to 50 kids. It varies by the year. I think lately we've been up in the 30s and 40s. I guess it's families, whatever. It's a lot of kids. They engage with, how do I say this? They engage with the class via text, not with their voices. Because we record these, we don't want to have student voices recorded. We take anonymity and privacy weirdly seriously. So they engage through text. They engage a lot through text. The classes have been described not by me as hyper interactive, where again, it's not just a lecture. I'm asking kids questions. I'm posing these weird things. I'm encouraging them to come up with crazy ideas all along on this, frequently because it's only the sort of out of the box, big picture, weird notions that are the things that are necessary to getting them to break through to understanding what the answer to the riddle is, because it turns out that science is actually very strange. Yeah, that's that. They usually last between an hour and a half and 2 hours. Sometimes they go over. I'm sorry. I choose to do them. I used to feel really bad about it, about how long they sometimes go. And I had a number of people come to me who were in the class and said, no, don't. Don't feel bad about that. The lessons should be the amount of time that they are. If students need to drop halfway through, great. It's no problem at all. You always have access to the last few weeks of recordings when you sign up for the webinars. You just put them up on a private thing on YouTube for the last few weeks, and then you get that so you can watch any parts of that you missed or just rewatch it if that's the thing that you want to do. Feel free to ask any questions about any of those right now. And now the seminars. Uh-oh. So you didn't see this, but when I clicked on the webinar and then I waited a long time, I got a bad gateway timeout thing, which has never happened before except once, and then I was never able to figure out how to fix it. It just went away after a day. So it may be that the internet or something is down. The website is down, Squarespace, the site on which we build our pages. Okay, so Squarespace basically is down right now. This is fine. I can describe things through words rather than just showing you things. So I'll show you, since we have this right now. The seminar is, it's cameras on. The seminars are small groups, which is to say max about 15 kids. Every once in a while, we'll have a couple more, but about 15 kids is what we cap it at. Sometimes they're siblings. They happen on Monday mornings, Monday evenings, Tuesday mornings, Tuesday evenings. I do 4 of them. They are an hour and a half long. I try to cut it at that for those. They are exhausting. They are wonderful. They are the thing that I used to describe as hyper-interactive before I had a podcaster tell me, no, actually the webinar is hyper-interactive. Like the seminars are like super hyper-interactive. Oops, sorry about that. The seminars, how do I say this? I hate being on a live Zoom with lots of people in most circumstances. I'm insanely ADHD. I always need something to be happening. I need to have us have a goal that we are aiming for. I need us to be making progress or like some sort of interesting side quests to get to the answer there. I need that to be happening in order to not go nuts. So, you know how most Zoom meetings are with a large group of people. There's large periods of time where people are like, what are we talking about again? Right? It's terrible. It's horrible. It's no good. It's very bad. We don't have that. I know where we want to get to. I get us to that point, and I'll again and again and again, every couple minutes max, I am asking kids to give their thoughts on things. Sometimes that is actually asking them to speak. It happens very, very frequently. Everyone hates it in Zoom when someone just starts talking and they keep talking and they keep talking and they keep talking. And then where does life go? Where does life even go? So we limit the talking to 10 seconds for people sharing things. This keeps class very tight and fast. We have this whole finger code where they raise 3 fingers if they think they actually know the answer to a question. They raise 2 fingers if they have a question, and they raise 1 finger if they have a crazy idea about something. This mix allows us to have really interesting ideas shared throughout all of this. Even more often, though, than having people share verbally when their cameras are on, I have them give their thoughts by a slider. Yes, no, or, like if we can make it not just a binary, but it's like an actual spectrum, like the here or here or here, right? I do this all the time. I don't want there to be more than a couple of minutes in class where people are just listening. I want to have it be super hyper interactive. And we do this through asking for sliders on this, and then I'll get people to ask for this. We do this in a very specific way where if I just asked you guys so are viruses good? What do you think? Give me a slider. The problem is that some of you, this is only true. Imagine right now we have these cameras on and people are watching each other. Some of us would go like, oh yeah. Some of us go, oh no. If those people did this first, and then other people would actually be watching them, and then they'd go like, well, that person says yes, so I'm going to try to kind of emulate them. This is not because people are cheating. This is because people are monkeys. Literally, humans are a type of monkey. Monkey see, monkey do. We are incredibly attentive to socially what is going on around us, and we will copy each other. This is not a bug. This is a feature. By the way, sometimes you'll hear from my fellow pro-evolutionists like, no, humans aren't monkeys. Humans are a type of ape. Those monkeys do not know what they're talking about because that makes literally no sense. Once you understand evolutionary phylogenetics, you understand that New World monkeys and Old World monkeys branched off, oh gosh, what was it, like 30 million years ago. And then apes branched off from Old World monkeys only like, oh gosh, like 20 million years ago. So literally all types of apes are types of monkeys. Sorry, you don't care about this. We'll just move on. We'll pretend this didn't happen. So this is me. This is me trying to explain that we have these super hyper interactive seminars. What we do with this is we have everyone give their thumbs up or thumbs down or a slider in the middle or whatever on the count of three. So we'll say 3, 2, 1, shoot, and then everybody has to do this. By the way, this is also a really nice way of finding out if kids are actually paying attention in class as opposed to, like playing a video game. Because even though I make these classes as interesting and as fast-paced as I possibly can, sometimes the lure of the shiny is too much. Sometimes video game companies that spend hundreds of millions of dollars on a video game, they come up with something that is even shinier than our classes. And then I will call students out, right? I'm like, oh, it doesn't seem like you're paying attention right now, which is fine, right? Like, I understand. We are all human. We are all monkeys. Shiny, bright thing, like, gets our attention. We have understanding. I very rarely get angry at a student. I'm trying to think the last time I got angry at a student. I'm made of I'm not a perfect teacher. There are times I've gotten angry at people before, but I usually don't with this. Instead, I will talk to them politely, and then, if needs be, take them out of class for a couple minutes by bringing them into the Zoom waiting room and then bringing them back in. That was an angry thing. And then I send an email to the parents, and then we kind of talk about, like, how can we set up the situation to make this better. We have a lot of kids in class. who have issues, who have difficulties with paying attention, with, I don't know, sticking around, like keeping to the group rules. I take my moral calling as a teacher of working with students as they are incredibly seriously. I want to help them get better at these things. Sometimes the best choice is like they should switch to the live Zoom webinar. They should switch to the recordings, right? Like sometimes that's just as the best choice. And that's great and that's wonderful. But I try to keep students in class and get creative about how we can work with them for this. Okay. Great, wonderful. That is talking about the 3 different types of classes that we have. Feel free to ask any questions about this. The price for these things is $40 a month for the recordings, $50 a month for the webinar subscription, and $190 every month for the seminar subscription. An interesting thing. We started by doing the seminars only. We were just a live class, and then only when we had kind of built up enough of an audience that we get to do the webinars, and then we did the recordings when we had developed the tech to do those really well. And we now have so many more people doing the recordings than we do anything else, which is great. I love that we are making the cheapest option the one that the most people can do. By the way, also, if you can't afford the recordings, send an email to Angela at sciencesweird.com. Everyone on our team, I think, has had some period of our lives where we have not been able to afford the things that we wanted for our kids. We are incredibly sensitive to our moral obligation to make these things, which we really believe in, when they work out with a family, of making it work with their family financially too. We will find a way of working with your family in a way that you can afford for that. The weird thing is that this year, at least as of right now, we do not have the seminars filled. We have the seminars on average half filled. This hasn't happened before. Now, we're not in trouble. We're making enough money from the recordings from this. But the seminars aren't as fun with like only a few kids as they are with like the full contingent of 15 kids. We're going to start a thing this year where if this continues and we don't have enough students filling up the seminars, which we usually have in past years, we're going to offer a thing where for, I don't know, a nominal fee or for free, we can bump people up from the recordings of the webinar, probably the webinar, because it'll be live and people will know what's going on, for free to try out a day of the seminar if they would like and see if that works for them. Yeah, cool. So know that that's a thing. Also, if you want to try out the seminar, but you're like, it didn't work for me, I want to go back to the webinar. Great. Wonderful. Happy to have had you try this out. Okay, cool. Wonderful. The things that you need for coming to class is a notebook, some pencils, some colored pencils. We actually do things in color. Your computer, the one that you're using right now to watch this, is probably great. iPad, a tablet works fantastic. Desktop, laptop, all great. And curiosity, like a full and open mind, by which I mean that actually like, there shouldn't be distractions in the background. Parents are totally welcome to come to class too. I am honored by the number of sometimes like PhDs in the sciences parents that we have who watch the classes live with their kids, and like sometimes see like the kids like conversing with their parents on there. I don't have a PhD in the sciences. I say that because I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's how cool these classes are. But we ask that parents not ever be on screen for this. This is only an issue in the seminars. We wanted to find it as a kids-only space. People feel differently. Kids feel differently. Kids act differently when they can see someone else's parent there. But I'm delighted when parents participate in this. I should show you. My gosh, I really should show you. Here's we'll do Al Volcanoes. I want to show you what this can actually look like when people are doing this. We had one person ask, well, here, excuse me, I wrote this question down. Sorry, I have some Bob Dylan stuck in my head lately. Our charter school requires work samples. Do you have any worksheets or fill-in-the-blank pages that complement the lessons and could be used to demonstrate what was learned? Our charter school prefers to see more formal work over note-taking. Boo! That's not me. That's this person. They literally at the bottom say, boo! Right there. I hate worksheets. I was very happy to see that boo there. I want to show you what the notes that we take look like. So I use this program called Procreate. I do the lessons. I mean, we sometimes bounce around to some videos and to some other pictures or whatever, but I draw these things live and I have the kids have a notebook. I recommend like a dotted notebook. We send out some recommendations for them. I don't, it's in the other room. You know, like one of those nice thick ones that have become like a moleskin, right? Like all the rage these days. So there's the riddle in the upper left-hand corner there. What's a volcano? And then I give them the quote-unquote Mad Libs, kind of a hint for this. And then I give them actual sort of clues, hints for this on the right-hand side. Geologist Sigh, Godzilla, and Spiderwebs and Syrup. Each of these, I'm not doing a good job of like showing the actual amount of pictures that we use for this. This is like what I show them. It says like geologists. They'll write down Geologist Sigh, and then Godzilla, and then Spiderwebs in syrup. And you're like, what? And then we go through all of these chapters. In these chapters, I show all of these pictures for these things. And it's very, very, very image heavy with this. I spent a lot of time making images and getting some really great images from this and making funny things and whatever. This is obviously not a funny thing. This is just a pile of rocks. Although look at that green one. What the heck is going on with that? Isn't that cool? I really like green basalt. I don't know what's up with it. I really don't know what's up to that. we have 3 chapters that we do for each of these, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, by the end of this, oh, sorry. And then we also draw in more pages. Usually there's 6 more pages that we draw in there. Now, the crucial thing is that I know that kids suck at writing notes. I suck at writing notes. These are not normal notes. These are notes that I have designed to be as sticky in the brain as possible. We draw this live. We ask questions around these things, and I have the kids draw this with me. My goal in this is by drawing these sort of things on certain pages is that the kids will open their they'll turn the page to their notebook, and the left-hand page they will draw this in roughly to scale. On the right-hand side, they will write this stuff in roughly to scale. I try my best to make this obvious for them in a way that makes it look attractive, because I really hate how, so much of school and so much of college was just, I have these notebooks, and these notebooks are ugly, but I learned really cool things in them, right? And who keeps their notebooks over years? I mean, I do, and my wife does, but most people don't. But you want to. You make a book. That is what a notebook can be. And so this is what we are doing with this. We help them make their books. Here's the next page for this Kilo World. You see on the left-hand side right there is where we have people imagine that they are 1,000 times taller than they currently are, which is you're about 1.5 meters tall. I'm 1.83 meters tall. Most kids are about 1.5, 1.6, something like that. And so what if you're 1 point whatever kilometers tall, right? You engage the world in a totally different way. Anyway, so we talked about how big volcanoes are, because you don't usually have a sense of that. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't be explaining the lesson. On the right-hand side, you can get a sense of this. I will not try to explain the lesson there. And then on the right-hand side, oh my gosh, I'm so flipping proud of how we did this, but I won't talk about it. But it turns out that if you look at a rock, if you can tell that it's an igneous rock at the beginning, now you're like, what's an igneous rock? Okay, there's a thing there. We can talk about that. But if you can tell it's an igneous rock, all you have to do is see, is it a dark igneous rock or is it a light igneous rock? Does it have crystals that you can see with the naked eye? Yes or no? And then just based on that, you can tell whether it shot out of a volcano or whether it froze, because rocks are frozen. Igneous rocks, at least, are frozen. Froze slowly beneath a volcano. And you can tell which type of volcano it came out of. A shield volcano with mafic runny lava, which is to say all of the lava that you ever see in your entire life, or a stratovolcano, which are the continental volcanoes, not the ones in the ocean, but the continental ones, which do not have the kind of lava that you ever see. Instead, they blow up, they explode, and they are super duper dangerous. The felsic stratovolcanoes. You can just tell this by looking at this, and it all connects. Okay, sorry. And then by the end of the lesson, can you see that I really enjoy that? This is of all the lessons that we did in here too. This is one of the ones I'm most proud of. We figured out what a volcano is. It was just piles of lava, either runny and flat or clumpy and steep, that froze. And this is the essential, beautiful thing that you should understand about a volcano. And I'll tell you that you're like, oh yeah, obviously. No, not obviously. Not obviously. A couple of these things, very geologically knowledgeable kids were able to come up with. But there were things in that lesson that every single kid did not know. Big things, important things that were the opposite of what they had always assumed to be true. Okay, so it's a big deal. The content that we focus on, sometimes I am asked what level is this at? I'm I don't know. Imagine that nobody outside of undergraduates in any field actually understood what the beautiful basics of that field were. Imagine that everybody is mostly just going through the motions about learning biology and chemistry and physics and earth science. That everyone is like trying to memorize these terms and like learn these concepts through experiments and whatever. But it's all kind of like glancing off of their brains and they're not really getting the important things that they need to know. Imagine that we live in the darkest possible timeline of education. And now imagine that these lessons are about the actual beautiful basics of every topic that we're talking about, and of physics and chemistry and whatever else, anatomy, physiology, etc. What ages are those for? They're for all of the ages. They're the things that you actually want to know. I was talking to an acquaintance of mine who is she's a computational neurobiologist, tenured professor at a University of California school. Talking to her a couple of days ago, and she was saying like no one understands like how deep the rot goes. So we are the thing that we have taken on is trying to fix that level of rot, not rock. I like rocks. I like rocks so much. Of which more anon, because this will be like the super secret, really cool thing that I haven't told anybody yet publicly, and you were the first people who are going to know about this. But like, I think this is one of the coolest ideas I've ever had. I've been working on this for years. Okay, what do we want to talk about right now? We want to talk about, probably the deep dives or something like that. Yeah, that's exactly what we want to talk about. Sorry. Got my notes here. Lessons are between 90 minutes and 120 minutes long, typically. They're really information dense. I throw my soul into every single one of these lessons. By the time that I do the, I don't know, actually, even like I've put like usually like 15 to 20 hours of work into every single one of these lessons. I have a science advisor. Her name is Amy. She is brilliant, and she has put also more hours into like researching each of these things so she can be my teacher and help me really efficiently answer questions for all of this. But wait, there's more. If you go to sciencesweird.com, but this probably won't work unless it worked this time. sciencesweird.com/dives. Hey, internet's back up, or the website's back up. That's great. We make these quote unquote deep dives. They're PDFs that I should update this part of it. Stay tuned. As of 2 years ago, I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I've said this before. Enough said. I make this 10-ish page PDF that gives really good free YouTube videos that consolidate and extend the stuff that kids learned in the class. 3 pages of trivia, questions and answers that clarifies what we have done in the class and sometimes goes beyond it, actually. This is a thing that's designed that your kid can do it by themselves. You'll see, they can cover up one of the columns and try to read the question on the left-hand side, try to guess the answer on the right-hand side. Or better, you can do it with them. I recommend, with the help of our librarian, Ronnie, I recommend a good book for each of the lessons. Sometimes we also throw in a good app or something like that, or a good website. But a really good book that is, I don't know, kind of a kid level. Sometimes it's an adult level, but it's really well written. Sometimes it's a specific chapter from something that like will help you go deeper if you want. I do these labs that I'm so proud of. They are what we call imaginative labs. They don't just make you follow stupid steps and then like say, look, I made a volcano out of baking soda and vinegar. Labs are important if you are actually studying to be a real scientist or a real engineer. Labs are very important. I do not mean to defame them. It's just that the way that they're usually done in elementary, middle, and high school, they're usually crap. They are anti-educational. They're horrid. We don't do those. Instead, what we do are these weird labs that actually help you learn to see in the real world the thing that we have been talking about. We also offer these memory cards and orienting tools. The orienting tools are super cool. I offer. We make maps. We say like, okay, like what is the geographical tie-in of anything that we talked about, and we in the first year especially, we help you run through this kind of geography thing where you learn the continents and you learn the most important countries of the world, and then forever after, on top of that, we are adding on like when we learned about, I don't know, Los Alamos National Laboratory, right? Like, where is that? When you learn about, I don't know, Galileo, right? And Pisa, right? Like, where is Pisa, Italy, right? Like, you should know where that is. Science is a human thing. A human thing means that it's a historical thing because it's a bunch of human stories that kind of overlap with each other and made up this giant, huge multi-tentacular story. And in any kind of history narrative, one of the most important characters is the geography, is the setting. It's the setting that doesn't change and that ends up being really important in how the action takes place. So we want to identify the geography of all of this. This is not strictly speaking necessary, but it's good education. I once had a high school student who was brilliant in science. We had just gotten done talking about the famous stories of people fighting for who discovered DNA first. Was it Rosalind Franklin? Was it Watson and Crick? Was it this other guy? It wasn't this other guy. Linus Pauling. It wasn't Linus Pauling. He was trying his best, gosh. Help him, but he thought there's a triple helix. You don't need to know this right now. Anyway, the student, we were talking about this. He was so smart. I'm like, wow, the student's so smart. Went to like one of the very best public schools in the Seattle area. I don't know, straight A student, super nerdy, so wonderful, polite, kind, thoughtful person. And I mentioned the Pacific Ocean. He's like, what's that? He didn't say like, what's that? He literally said, what's that? I said, the Pacific Ocean. I said, what's the Pacific Ocean? I emphasized that we lived in Seattle. I later found out that his family owned a second home. This is a rich kid. They had a second home on Puget Sound, which is part of the Salish Sea, which is part of the Pacific Ocean. He literally lived on the biggest thing in the world, and he had never heard of it. All of your scientific understanding of the world is not going to help you if you don't know the most basic things about the world. Okay, so we do some of this. Sorry, we're talking about orienting tools right now. This is part of the deep dive that we are talking about right now, just to orient you in this because I feel like I'm actually doing a very bad job of this and jumping around too much. We do that. We then do these big history timelines. I have a picture of this that I think Oh, I think I put it in here. Just a second. I'm getting there. Huh. I am confused, but I'm frequently confused about things. So it's not like this is unfamiliar territory to me. Easiest way of showing this, big history timelines, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. It's not probably worth looking up right now. Help people make these. Well, I guess we have a kind of picture of it right here. We have people make these multiple timelines that hang on their walls. I have a real picture of them. It looks really cool. Where the red one there is the history of life, the universe, and everything starts in the Big Bang. The next one is the story of life. The next one is the story of ancient human history, sort of prehistory. The next one is human history starting back in, I'm forgetting, like ancient Greece or something like that. Ancient Mesopotamia. And then there's a fifth one that's not on this little cartoon of it here, that is starting in, like the late 1700s or something like that. And whenever we find like something that connects to history, which is to say all of the flipping time, we have Skylar, our illustrator, make a really wonderful cartoon for it. And then you can put it on your timeline at home. Sometimes it's like when the thing evolves, sometimes like when the continents crash together, about like when, like if we're talking about a certain molecule, like when was that molecule like first formed in universal history. Sometimes it's like when was the thing discovered by people, like put that like in the 1600s or something like that, right? We want to plot these things both spatially, geography, and timeline-wise, because I don't know, what are we playing at? The point of this is not just to have a bunch of science trivia. The point of this is to actually understand the flippin' world. And for that, it helps. It's both as important to know these things, because that's actually kind of what science is. Science is not just like facts that drop out of the sky. But science is like this human thing that like percolates in human brains, and we figure it out and we fight with each other and it's fun. But also it really does help, because it turns out that time, right? Stories, like that's an important thing of how humans make sense of the world. It's cognitively privileged, and spatialness maps, right? That's another way, another thing that's especially privileged in human cognition. Big history timelines. What's the goal? Oh, we have a size line too. This is really cool. A bunch of times in class, we shrink up or swell up or shrink down. That's how you say it. And we pretend to be a millimeter tall or a micrometer tall or a nanometer tall or a picometer tall. In a couple of years, we're going to introduce femtometers, but that's a while away. Maybe atometers after that. I forget. We have you pretend to be really, really small, and then say, like, what does this thing look like if you're really small? Or you're really big. You saw the kilo world sort of thing before about that. Turns out that like there's lots of things in the world that you really can't understand unless you imagine being really, really small or really, really big. They're just like, they're too big or too small for human comprehension otherwise. And so what we always fall back on is just doing a bunch of, like, memorizing a bunch of abstractions. They're trying to learn a bunch of abstractions. You're trying to like memorize a bunch of terminology. It's garbage. It's crap. It doesn't work. It works if you're a science person. It works if you're really geeky. It works if you're really smart. It works if you're really good at memorizing things and like you're thoughtful and like keep reflecting on these things. Basically, the way that we do science education in the modern world is really amazing. It works perfectly for Ravenclaws, and it fails. It is failing almost everybody else. We have lots of Ravenclaws in Science is Weird. Science is Weird, though, is also for the rest of us. It's about using these human ways of understanding the world, like through imagining your body as a certain size, like imagining the physical world around you through stories, through riddles, through geography, through timelines, through I don't know, through emotions, right? Like so much of what we do is like how, like what is the cognition, what is the cognitive aspect of this? What are the terms? What are the concepts? What are the models of the world that you should have in your head? And then like how does that tie around the emotional aspect of it? The human, right? Like comes from this sort of interrelationship between these two things. This is if you were interested, and you don't need to be. I'm an educational philosophy nut. If you go to teaching science, you will learn kind of about how we come at this. We build here. This is like what our whole big 6 years is based off of. All things are made of atoms, little particles that move around in perpetual motion, attracting each other when they're a little distance apart, but repelling upon being squeezed into each other. We build everything on this idea. So you have an atoms on up understanding of reality. And then if you go to teaching everything, you will see how we, from an educational philosophy perspective, approach this. You'll see this name, Kieran Egan, come up a lot. Kieran Egan is died, I think 3 years ago now. Celebrate the anniversary of his departure, of his parting, of his death every year. He is the one educational mind that Science is Weird is really based on. I am, meta. I don't know. Like this is like what I'm spending my life doing. It's like taking advantage of the ideas that he opened up to teach all sorts of things. You should know that I actually run a blog called The Lost Tools of Learning. If you go to losttools.org, you will see various posts that I have made trying to make sense of his ideas. And we are like Science is Weird. Like stage one. It was like multi-part thing that we are doing. To recreate the entire K through 12 curriculum. We're working with a lot of people around the world to rehumanize education, re-enchant education, make all the pieces of education more wonderful. Hey, I don't think I've actually mentioned this before. We have been asked since almost the beginning of Science is Weird, like, couldn't you make like a history is weird? Couldn't you make like a blank is weird? That's what we're starting to do now. Look later this year, the school year, for economics is weird to begin. We'll probably begin that in January, mostly for high schoolers. Uh, uh, and then look for a history is weird to begin next fall. We'll be doing some pop-up classes for those before they actually start to kind of work through the mechanisms of how the class works, but also to gin up excitement about this. We're working with a ludicrously talented team of individuals who understand this method, understand this paradigm of teaching that Science is Weird is based on, and are excited about expanding it to other things. It's really exciting. So look forward to that. There, you're the first people to hear about that. I see the spaced repetition everywhere thing that I have on here. And I'm reminded that the final thing that we have in the deep dives every week is Anki cards. Anki is a spaced repetition flashcard app for free that you can get on your computer or iPhone or whatever. And after every lesson, I take some of the most choice pieces of trivia that summarize what we talked about, and I turn them, I or a helper in class. If you are the person who helped us last year, thank you very much for doing this, and I'm sorry that I failed many times as I did last year to get these done in a timely manner. We put them on these. The idea of these, you can read about this on this recent blog post, probably the best idea for it. But you do these cards, and they deepen. Sorry, they secure the most important things that you learned in class. They sometimes deepen them, and then you see these only once in a while when you're about to forget them. And by repeating them only a few times over a very specific set of timings, you remember these things forever, and your knowledge builds like a snowball going downhill, except it doesn't actually fall apart. It just gets bigger and bigger until it crushes the world. Secretly, Science is Weird exists to create supervillains. But you weren't supposed to hear that. Hey, anybody want to take a guess as to the answer to this? I'll give 20 seconds. Go ahead and throw it in the chat. Lungs as organs. Why do you have ribs? Not for protection. That's what I was told when I was a kid. Otherwise, they'd be a solid shell and would probably cover your belly. Rib bones are covered in tough muscle, so you can... And the answer, nice job, Lapis Lazuli and L.G. Hoatzin. I love Hoatzins. They're my favorite bird. So you can breathe. Isn't that interesting? There's so much that's in this, like down to like, why are ribs so good as a meat that comes into this? Sorry, I won't go into it. It's so interesting, though. Anyway, we take the best stuff from every class. We make it into these cards. You can download them for free. Here, let me actually show you, because this is so important. Let me actually show you what these deep dives look like. Here's I'll do here. Actually, what I will do is show you from, I don't know. Here's eyes are weird. Oh yeah. Here, this is from our eyes class, our final eyes class that is about optical illusions, which is really about how eyes and the brain interact with one another. So we start again with these videos. So here's 3 or 4 videos. Wow, feeling ritzy today. The links to them and whatever. These are chosen to be good videos. Okay, I take the quality thing there very seriously. Here's the trivia. What are the 3 parts of your brain? If your kid wants to do these by themselves, they cover up the right-hand column and then they quiz them. Or you can ask them the question, right? Sitting on one side of your kitchen and your kid's on the other one. What are the 3 parts of your brain? Your kid says, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Colada. I don't know. Pina Colada. I think I put too many jokes in there. I just kind of just fell. No, not my best work. Brainstem, limbic system, and cortex. These are things that we talked about and did a really good job of talking about in the class. And we do this for one page related to usually the first chapter of the lesson, another page for the second chapter of the lesson, and a third page for the third chapter of the lesson. Most lessons have 3 chapters. Every once in a while we have 4 chapters, and we did with this lesson, so it has a 4-parter. Right there. After that comes this lab that we do. It's hard to see your brain because you use your brain to see. So let's get creative. Show where you see, and we get you to imagine, actually when you see something, what is actually physically going on in your occipital lobe, which is the part of your brain that's back over there. I'm so proud of this. I'm so proud of this, honestly. It's so good. Okay, here's the book recommendation. Oh, sorry. I need to email Cy back. Cy is a friend of mine who I found out because of his book, which is just such a great book. One of my favorite science books ever. The Journey of the Mind, How Thinking Evolved from Chaos. And then another one, Brainscapes by Rebecca. Great books. Okay, recommended those. Then we give the Orient Yourself. So you put these places, Andalusia and Navarre, which we talked about these because of Picasso and Santiago Ramon y Cajal, different parts of Spain that they are from. Timeline had nothing this week, and the size line had a cortical column. So on the size line, you would then print off, where is our cortical column, size 5 sign lines. So in Milliworld, which is a piece of paper that you have on your wall, where you are 1 point whatever millimeters tall. You cut this out in a piece of paper. This is properly sized. So when it's next to you, a little picture of yourself. Sorry, I'm not doing a good job explaining this. You understand what the cortical column actually looks like on there. You can see the 6 layers of neurons that we talked about in class there. Blah, blah, blah. PDFs. Where was I? Deep dives. Eyes number 5. Notebook pages, you can see the drawings that we did for each of these. And so if you want to then draw these yourself, you can do that. What had happened if you were cured of optical illusions? Here, actually, I don't want you to take too much of time looking at that because I don't want to accidentally spoil that because it's a really good lesson. Oh, man, it's a good lesson. One of my favorites, too. Where do you see? We asked that question in there. This is chapter 2 or something. We talked about the basic parts of the brain here, and note that because this is a curriculum that actually builds on itself, we will be assuming these things again in the future. We'll not be assuming that kids remember these things perfectly because, my goodness, of course not. But we will, not spend that much time introducing these things. Well, we'll not introduce them again. We'll spend some time, we'll briefly review them again, but we'll build on this, even coming up this next year when we talk about the olfactory bulb and some other parts of your brain. Yeah, great, wonderful. We talk about, I don't have those here. How do I still have those at home? We actually show you exactly what your cortex looks like. It's felt. It's pink felt that looks like a sort of a buffalo crossed with Squirtle, a Squirtalo, 2 of them smashing into each other. And then when you see something in the Squirtalo's head, which is there, the occipital lobe at the back of your brain, neurons in roughly the shape of whatever it is that you're looking at. Look, I'm not making this up. This is so weird, and it's true. There is a mistake here, actually. They only recognize after class, but I don't want to waste your time with it right now. If anyone wants to ask it after we finish this, it'll be fine. And then here, we could draw, here's a column of cortex, the cortical column right there, and we talk about how perception and imagination, there's some other words we can put on that, kind of work with this. This is one of the ways that these work. It's more complicated than this, but it also is not more complicated than this. I think this is an important, essential part of it. We're not lying with this. Okay. Anyone want to ask a question about the deep dives from this? We put so much work into the deep dives. You don't need to do them. Here, 20 seconds. Go ahead and ask any questions you'd like. You don't need to do them. 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 I'm not your dad. I'm not your kid's dad. My daughter is in class, so I'm hers. But other than that, she needs to do them. But otherwise, no, you don't. They're a lot. They take, I don't know, an hour or 2 or 3 or something like that. You can spread it out over 3 or 4 days. If you want to do that, you can throw them all really hard that one day. Yeah. Could we all? I love the word y'all. Just that's underappreciated. Also use. Could y'all send out an email to sort of schedule a list of examples of what a week would look like if a kid or family engaged in every extra item offered? I loved your email. Thank you. Um, you can do whatever you want with this. What you could do with this is, where am I? PDFs, deep dives. Suggested this before for people, and I appreciate you asking this. So we always put these out on, well, we almost always get these out on Thursdays. Try to get them out on Wednesdays, honestly. Every once in a while it takes a Friday. These take so much work. These are exhausting. This year I'm actually looking to get some help in making these because I'm worried about getting burnt out. But you could, let's say you get this on Thursday. On Thursday, you could watch the videos. And then on Friday, you could do the trivia. And then on Monday, if you skip the weekends like I like to, you could do the lab. And then on Tuesday, you could do the book. We do send out the list of books that we are going to be recommending at the beginning of each new topic. So you have time to kind of put those on hold from the library if that's a thing that you want to do. Oops. Come on. Oh, it's really weird. Okay. Where are we up to? And Wednesday, you could do the other things, the geography thing and the timeline and the size line. There. Notebook page just for that. Oh, and then the very last thing is the Anki cards. You could add the Anki cards in after that. So you could kind of like spread it out over a week if you wanted to do that. Which day of the week is going to be a floater because some kids take the class on Monday, some kids take it on Tuesday or Wednesday. I guess, but everybody gets the deep dives on the same day, which is usually Thursday. So I don't know, something like that. Why do the deep dives? I mean, the answer is that some kids just really need that. They're desperately curious and they have this voracious intellect that needs to devour the world. Somebody described Pablo Picasso like that, actually, a voracious intellect that wanted to devour the world. We sweeten the pot a little bit by doing this thing that we call the Philosophers Club. So if you go to the very bottom here and you go to not Philosophy 2, that's a different thing. Is it? I'm going to click on it. No. Or, yes, it is a different thing. Should be a picture here. Nope, there we go. I'm going to come back to this later. Oh, I don't know why the Philosopher's Club doesn't link down there. At the end of each topic gets 5 weeks, gets 5 lessons. And then we have a secret 6th lesson for kids who need more. What we ask is that they do the deep dives, that they do most of each of the deep dives. It says specifically which one's on the deep dive. If you go to the deep dive, you will see that there's this little 3 dots that are here. An asterism, this is called. Want to be in the Philosopher's Club after lesson 5? Do the sections marked with this fancy symbol called an asterism. The sections that don't have it are totally optional for you. Of course, they're all totally optional for everybody, but so if you want to get in these secret 6 lessons, you watch the videos and you should review the trivia. And you should learn to see with the lab. And you should go even deeper with the book. Try to get the books. If you can't get the book, that's fine. We actually don't even ask that you do this. Maybe we will this year. Ask that you do have the notebook pages drawn. If you don't want to draw them in class, that's fine. You can draw them afterwards, which is why we have the links right here. Maybe we should ask for the Anki cards this year. I don't think we will. That's above and beyond. I only want people doing that if they really want to do that. Okay. So then they get into that. They also, we play Mario Kart. I really like beating kids in Mario Kart. I'm not made of stone. So we do that for kids who are in the Philosopher's Club. Basically, that's what the Philosopher's Club means. Is that we one of the kids runs. Hi, Leo. Runs a Minecraft server for kids who are in the Philosopher's Club, so they get an invitation to that. So we try to have these ways of going above and beyond for this. What am I talking about? Let's talk about approved vendors. A bunch of questions about that. Wow, this Philosopher's Club page is really meaty. Okay, let's talk about vendors. Oh, no, guarantee. I'm going to discounts, and I say here something that is not actually true. Wait, hold on. Reimbursements here. Approved vendors. Says we'd love to help you. That part is true, actually. If you are part of a charter school that reimburses things, or a state that reimburses things, or whatever, um, uh, I'm not good at running a business. I'm a very good teacher. I'm terrible at actually doing a bunch of the nuts and bolts of the business things. And after years of trying to get a system in place with somebody who would be able to work with charter school networks or work with states to become an approved vendor, we've totally failed and we've given up. We've just given up. Right now, you want to say, "Oh, all you need to do is X." No, don't. Please don't talk with me about it. No, brings me back to a very dark place. Here's what we do instead. Something hopefully better for you. You don't need to do any of the paperwork. We are just committed to helping you get these classes for a price that you can afford. So just talk to us and we'll help you get the recordings for a price that you can afford for this, or the webinar for a price that you can afford for this. We take that super duper seriously. But I need to take the approved vendor part of this actually off of the website, because it's just... we are big also on doing some kind of weirder discounts. If you go to the discounts page here, we talk about discounts that we offer to families. Webinar subscriptions are for entire families. Seminars are per kid, but then each kid gets an additional $40 off on this. Every kid gets $40 off of that. Reimbursements approved. International discounts. There are countries where money is different. What we do is sort of puckishly, I love that word. Economists talk about this thing called the Big Mac's Index, which is how much does a Big Mac cost from one country to another. It turns out this is actually a really efficient and effective way of figuring out how money actually translates from one country to another. So our prices are always given in US dollars. If you live in, I don't know, Pakistan, Big Mac costs $1.91. US, when this was made, it was $5.35. So that's it's almost only a third of what it is. So that means that we will sell you any of these things, if you were in Pakistan, for about a third of what they would cost otherwise. If you live in Liechtenstein, apparently no one can afford Big Macs because they're just too expensive. Or if you're in Switzerland, it's the same price, $7.75. Don't worry, we don't charge you more. But you can only gain from this. So feel free to exploit us with this. Oh, what else? Big Mac just discounts, close reading. We're doing a workshop tomorrow on close reading. This is an unscience thing, but if you go to the top of our page and click on reading, you will see that we do these classes on comics, that we take really seriously, reading comics and arguing comics. They're really great classes. This is the new page. It does not describe it very well, but it does have the new dates on there. Tomorrow, there will be an open house that you can sign up for if you just click on this. You're watching this recording right now. Probably it's too late. It's too late, but probably we'll have the recording also on the website there. We do Calvin and Hobbes. We do some other things. We're doing something new next year, which is why I wanted to update that webpage, which is why the cool parts of the webpage are not on there. I don't know. There's a lot of other things we can talk about with the class. We can talk about the big ideas we talk about. We can talk about the standards, how we meet various state standards. It's so boring. But if you were interested in this, go to the bottom and then go to somewhere. All the concepts? I made all these things, but I make a lot of things. So you got to forgive me that. What do they teach at this? What do they teach in schools these days? This lists out many of the things that you will find out about if you do all 6 of our years of this. We sometimes, because we emphasize like the coolness and the funness, fun is already a noun, of science, sometimes people think that, oh, it must not be serious science. It's just fun. No, nuts to you. No. This is like super serious science. It wouldn't actually be that fun if it was just fun. I flipping hate it when science classes, any kind of class, is like, oh, we make learning fun. No, you make learning terrible. Go away. Stop bothering the rest of us. Don't waste our time. We talk about serious crap. When we talk about them in serious ways, except, we're laughing a lot of the time. So you can see a bunch of things going on here. Gushy things, right? It's fun. Human things, great, wonderful. Where, though, is the... I like my writing style some days. Hear more from parents. Yes. This is not the part about the... Maybe it's in high school. How high do we go? We do have high school students. We have quite a few high school students. We also have some students who are really young. Like, we've had some 6-year-olds before. Probably the recordings are best for them, or the live webinars. There's a problem that you get when you have like high schoolers and there's like a 6-year-old in class. They're like, oh, what's going on here? So sorry for the weakness of humanity. We do that. Here it is, us and the NGSS. We should directly link this somewhere else on the website. But we also have high schoolers. But the ages that we aim at are 8 to 15. But we also have some 17, 18-year-olds. CS and the NGSS. We go through each year and what NGSS stands for Next Generation Science Standards. It sounds so cool, and it's such a boring list. I hate it so much. It is a small cause of what makes science classes bad, although the thing that it's replacing was honestly even worse. So, progress, I guess. You can see like what things we're hitting on this year with this. Oh, so the deep dives include pretty much everything. Yeah. We send them out through email? What do we do? No, at the beginning of every topic, if you're doing one of the live classes, you get an email that has the link to the Google Drive folder, and then they're updated every week, and then you can get them through there. If you're doing the recordings through Thinkific, you will actually get at the end of every lesson, you'll get to the spot where it's just like, here is the deep dive. Hit this button and download the PDF. Makes it super easy to do. So they're not actually on the website. They're just this thing that you get kind of automatically. There were some other questions that people had asked for this, so let me read these out loud awkwardly. Ooh, how much can kids actively participate in the seminar, and what does that usually look like? I think I explained that already with the thumbs and the fingers and the yelling and the whatever. What else do we do? We do some other things with kids getting their bodies into it. Yeah, the kids kind of become friends. I don't want to make too much of that. It's more baseball than it is soccer in the sense that it's more like everyone's kind of like, I'm the spoke at the hub of it. The kids are interacting really quickly to me, more than to each other. Our arguing comics classes where I'm actually quite peripheral and the kids are arguing with each other more. So I don't want to say they all become best friends and they all lived happily ever after. No, but they do like each other typically by a little while into this. I did the charter school one. Oh, can we jump into the year 3? Is there a certain knowledge covered in years 1 and 2 that my child needs to have in order to understand the year 3 live courses? You can jump in whenever you want. One of the things that I need to do that will just, I think, make the seminars more useful for people is to make an official policy of how, if you sign up for the seminars, I think not the webinars, I think the seminars, at least the seminars. We'll start there this year. And you want to have access to the recordings, we'll just give you access to all the past recordings. You can then take them whenever they want to make it easier for people to jump in, if that does. We don't have I've paused on this in the past. I'm doing this because we should have a system for this. And because we're sort of spanning Thinkific now with our recordings and this other thing of Zoom, we don't know how to span that. We don't know how to make a system that spans that automatically. But here, if you're listening to this right now, just shoot an email to me, Brandon at sciencesweird.com, saying, hey, you had said that since we're in the seminar, we can get free access to the recordings. Is that can you give us that? And I'll say, yep. And I'll send an email to Angela that I'll CC you on, and then we'll make that happen for you. I think otherwise I've actually answered all these questions. Okay, so here's what I want to do then right now, because this is the kind of neat part. We can talk about the lessons the topics that we're going to talk about this year. I'm going to go on this, going to go to science, going to go to science pages, the whole 6 years, which is /everything. Okay, great. I want to talk about these. Okay, so for toasters, toasters is not all about toasters. Toasters is weirdly about the various things that you see inside of your kitchen. So lesson 1 is on toasters, and we talk about like all kinds of heaters and how that works. Basically, it's our first electricity lesson. Later, we're going to be talking about nuclear powers, of course, but also batteries. We'll talk a lot about that. We've talked a little bit about electricity before in fire, of all places, but in a little bit in light. But we're talking mostly about electrons and whatever in this. That's really cool. The second lesson is on sinks and the entire substructure that is, like, what exactly is happening when you open the faucet. Hint, so many things. And it's so interesting. And like, why do we even have water towers? Like, all the water that comes in your sink and that's in my coffee right now, like, was it actually in the water tower before it got in here, right? Like, what are the actual nuts and bolts of what's going on? Why is the water fizzy and bubbly when it comes out? In old houses, you hear this crack when you turn off the water. What the heck was going on there, and how did we stop this? So many things about sinks. Talk about microwaves. We'll talk about refrigerators. Oh my gosh, refrigerators. They're magic. They're run by elves. They're so weird. I don't want to say anything else about that because it's going to spoil it. And I take not giving spoilers very seriously, but like, holy crap. I spent so many hours talking to PhDs in preparation for this one stupid refrigerator class. And like at the end of it, the PhDs are like, actually, I think actually everything that I was saying is actually, maybe it's backwards. It's weirdly hard to understand refrigerators. What else do microwaves are actually, everyone gets microwaves wrong. I won't spoil it right now, but like why doesn't a microwave explode itself? If it's made out of metal, you can put metal in a microwave. Are microwaves dangerous for us? Some other things we'll be talking about. Talk about blenders. So a basic motor, the basic class that we do on electric motors. And something else that we're talking about too. Induction ranges? I forget. Maybe that's actually it. Okay. That's toasters. The next one is ice cream. So this will start in, I don't know, October, the end of October, something like that. Ice cream is, I've taught this one. I've taught most of these classes at some point before. Not toasters. Toasters is actually the new one this year. But ice cream is just one of the most popular classes ever. I've taught it a couple different times. We are upgrading it this time because we are building on the things that we've talked about before. But ice creams are a class on macromolecules, on macronutrients. There's a phrase for this: basic biomolecule classes. So lesson 1 is going to be if you shrunk down to be a micrometer tall, what would ice cream look like? The answer to that is really, really, really interesting. The next one is on fat. The one after that is on the ice and the water. The next one on that is going to focus on, what is it? Sugar, the sugar part of it, and why sugar-free ice cream is almost impossible to make. Isn't that interesting? And then the final one is on protein and what makes frozen custard so different and why it is. I'm just going to say it. It's better. It's just better. I'm from Milwaukee, and Milwaukee and St. Louis are the 2 cities in America that are like totally sold out on frozen custard. And so, sorry, everybody. Frozen custard is just better. And there's a reason for that. Throughout ice cream, after every single lesson, we will be having you make ice cream in your home from scratch, and it'll be wonderful. my wife has come up with. My wife is an amazing cook, and when we taught this the first time together, we got really, really into the science of how you can make these things. Um, so she's made up some very simple recipes for this, and they will help you understand, help you see the differences in these things, and it's so cool. Okay, so great. The next one then is the anatomy stuff on mouths. We're doing the first day is on the evolution of all of the different parts of your mouth. What was your tongue before it was a tongue? What were your cheeks before they were cheeks? What was the palate, a hard and soft palate of your mouth before they did that? Evolutionarily, when we first evolved these things. It's really interesting. Also, like, what does it look like inside of there? Because honestly, it's a model that everybody has wrong, which is weird because like you can feel it. You're feeling it right now. But like you probably have no idea the actual shape of your mouth. It's so weird. Have a class on taste. Taste buds are not what you think they are. To have a class on smell and odor. It's so interesting. It's so interesting. Have one on speech. We'll be learning the International Phonetic Alphabet or aspects of the parts of the IPA, which I'm a big fan of. Talk about how you actually make these sounds. And then we'll be doing a final, an embryology. We try to put in embryology classes whenever we get a chance to, because Evo Devo, evolutionary developmentalism, is so interesting how evolution and embryology combine with each other, that we just look for excuses to talk about it. But also specifically in the case of mouths, there's something so interesting going on with how embryos form, what you were when you were an embryo and what your mouth started as. But I won't say it right now because it's one of the more controversial things that I'll say all year long, and you should look forward to it. Then we could do hills. Hills is my favorite topic of all 36 of these. No exaggeration. I love hills. I will talk more about hills in a minute because hills is going to be the site of our doing something that is actually groundbreaking this year that you will hear for the first time. Viruses, it's a fun course. I mean, it shouldn't be. I mean, it should be. I mean, it's great. Viruses, we'll go into microbiology, we'll go into human evolution, the human history of the fight against viruses. We will talk about the immune system a lot. We've already talked about the immune system a little bit with bacteria and actually with lungs as well. But we'll be talking about it more now with viruses. We really want to figure out what are viruses doing in the body. And this is one of those things that it feels like all educated adults, even like not very educated adults, like have like a basic intuitive idea of. And that's, I think, basically right. But the devil is in the details. What the heck is it about chickenpox that means that sometimes chickenpox viruses will hide in your spine, which, by the way, is incredibly protected against viruses. This is not supposed to happen with any kind of virus. What is it about the chickenpox virus that makes it so good at occasionally, if you get very unlucky, hiding in your spine and then re-emerging later in life as shingles? And why is shingles so different than chickenpox? What the heck is going on there? Why is HIV so terrible? What is the deal about these endogenous retroviruses? What do endogenous retroviruses have to tell us about the deep story of what makes us human? Oh, it's so interesting. Okay, no spoilers there. We say that getting a vaccine stops us from getting a virus. But like with the COVID vaccines, vaccines, depending on how you want to define that. But famously, right, we found out that, they don't actually do a very good job of stopping you from getting it. They just make it not nearly as bad. So what do we even mean when we say that something stops you from getting it? Like, does that mean like 0 cells in your body ever get a virus that breaks into them? Because that doesn't make any sense, right? Like, how would a vaccine stop the virus from breaking into the first cell? What is actually happening in this sort of situation? What is going on with COVID specifically, with the whole lack of smell thing that occasionally happens after that? Why are smell cells? Because we'll connect back up to mouths, like going on special there, right? Like, yeah, what is happening with this? Okay, so that'll be fun. It's always really fun. Talk about jackalopes. No, we'll talk about jackalopes. I saw a jackalope once. You know, jackalope, that famous thing from American mythology that is a rabbit that has antlers. I saw a jackalope once. I'm not making this up. I do try to lie once in every lesson. I'm not lying about seeing a jackalope. A couple of years ago, I was at a park. We'll talk about that, and viruses are weird. Oh, it's so cool. Okay, and then evolution. Evolution is a really special class that we do. Most classes, you saw before in the reasons that you might hate us. Come on. Hate us. Well, one of the reasons that people might hate us is that we talk a lot about evolution. Oh, I love me some evolution. When classes teach evolution, sometimes they will do a bad job of it. They'll try to kind of just do like a half job of it. We do not. But also when they get around to actually talking about evolution, they'll try to basically just define like, here's how natural selection works, what Darwin's basic insight was. What's weird is that in evolution is weird. I don't think we're going to talk about that because we have already talked about that so much. We've already kind of talked about it in class. We're going to actually squeeze that into all of the other lessons throughout the year. This first part of the year to really establish natural selection. Natural selection is non-optional. It is like this beautiful math thing that like makes evolution impossible to stop given a couple of preconditions. What we do in Evolution is Weird as a class is we go into the really weird ramifications of evolutionary theory. Nature, red and tooth and claw, right? Like monsters, it creates the most terrifying monsters because they kill each other and they survive, they defend themselves. Rah! This is all true, hence the T-Rex or saber-toothed tiger, right? This is not a fake background, by the way. Sometimes people think that this is a fake background, which I feel like I'm honored, but like, because like maybe it's like, oh, it looks too cool to be real. No, like these are all real books. I reference these books to make classes. What was I talking about? T-Rexes. Why? Nature, red and tooth and claw, but also so many things in nature are unspeakably beautiful. Why does evolution make beauty? That's one of the things we're talking about in Evolution is Weird. Evolution, red and tooth and claw, monsters. So why are some animals nice to each other? What's going on there? Niceness, kindness, this also evolves. What's happening with that? We'll talk about that. Oh, right, because evolutionary biologists have spent the better part of the last century working on this problem. And there's still some disagreements that go on here. We'll talk about those disagreements, but we'll talk about the consensuses that have been come up with too. Talk about, I don't know, convergent evolution. We'll talk about selfish gene theory. We'll talk about eusociality. We'll talk about some of the really deep mysteries that evolution helps us understand. Okay. That's what we're talking about this year. Anyone want to ask a question about any of that? 20 seconds if you'd like to, and I will show you these pictures. Again, actually, you know what I can do? I'll show you the pictures of these. So, here are toasters and ice cream and mouths and dirt. Oh, I'm sorry. Back in the day, we were going to do dirt here, but we switched it up with hills. I need to change that picture. And viruses and evolution is the thing there. Nothing? Okay, great. I'm going to tell you a thing that I haven't told anybody. If you want to go right now, you can go right now. You can always go. Just drop. You don't need to say you're going. Just drop. Watch the recording afterwards. It's great. Two things. First of all, you should know, because this risks getting buried in the bigger picture. This year, because of Hills Are Weird, we're going to be showing kids how to find fossils around where you live, helping them learn to expect what kinds of fossils they should look for, what those things look like, and then how to find those things, how to find what local laws are about that, all of that. This is something that we've in some ways never done before, and in some other ways I've been doing for years and years and years and years and years. It's going to be awesome. Well, look for us to kind of introduce that near the beginning of the year and help people kind of do that. This is actually going to connect up to one of the contests that we are going to be running at the end of the year about springtime in the Northern Hemisphere, autumn in the Southern, about how to, well, we'll see like what kind of fossils kids have found, and we'll give little prizes for like the, I don't know, the biggest fossil that they found, and the coolest fossil, and the best preserved thing, and the whatever, right? Fossil from the biggest animal. I don't know. We'll make a bunch of categories for this, but like we'll have the opportunity to kind of show this off, what we've found from this, because this is so cool. Because this is one of the ways of understanding hills. Oh, I skipped over hills before. Hills, the class, will itself deal with caves and waterfalls and whatever else, weird things around North America, especially things that you can see from space, mountains, and I'm forgetting some really important things, and that's fine right now. It's my favorite class. You'll adopt a hill near your house, and then you'll try to figure out like what the heck is going on with that hill. What is the story? What is the deep story of that hill? Which is so cool. Just so cool. You want to understand how your local geography like came to be, and we're going to use the class to help you do that. Oh man, things I wish I knew when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was so desperately in love with dinosaurs. Maybe you can see some signs of that here. And and like, I don't know, like if you would have found me at age 7, like you would have found me on a nice summer day digging for fossils in our yard. But the thing is that our yard was dirt. I was digging for fossils, for dinosaur bones in dirt. One, you don't find dinosaur bones in dirt. You don't find any kind of fossil in dirt, almost by definition. And 2, dinosaurs lived in Wisconsin, which is where I'm from. But in my part, the Milwaukee area, the fossils that are found there were already fossils at the time that the dinosaurs lived. If you want a time machine back to Wisconsin in the, I don't know, the Jurassic, you would have had to dig deep underground to get to the fossils that are now exposed in the Milwaukee area. There is no way that I would have ever found any dinosaur bones there. I grew up loving dinosaurs, wanting to find them myself, but totally disconnected from understanding like how to actually find these things. So we're going to do fossils. Okay. Does that make sense? It's going to be amazing. You're going to love it. Maybe. It's not going to be necessary. It's going to be an optional thing. A lot of kids want to do this. Here's the controversial thing. Here's the thing that I have not told anybody about. Also, I haven't told them about the fossil thing either, so there's that too. Sorry, my hair is weird right now. Good, I think I've made it weirder. We're just going to run with this. And science is weird. We focus mostly on teaching the science of what actually is. The cool, shiny, amazing things in the world that when you discover them and you learn to think about them, they turn upside down your understanding of the world. We do a really good job with this. This is what our sort of like riddle revelation sort of, method of every class is meant to do a great job of. But that's not all that science is. Science is also the method that we use to figure things out. Our classes are not set up for teaching that very well. Now, it turns out that almost no class is, so I don't feel bad about that. But we try to find other opportunities for doing this. It's normal when you start a science course to make your first lesson by asking, what is science? How does science work? Science makes some pretty hefty claims, right? Like that in theory, if you hear like a scientist saying like, well, like science says that blah, 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 blah. And you hear baseball player saying, well, actually, I think blah, 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 blah about that topic. You're supposed to trust the scientist. This is our societal expectation for this. We put trust in scientists. Why? What is it about science that actually like works? Why why is science a method that is unlike baseball, that is unlike religions, or at least the religions that you don't belong to, that is unlike philosophy for figuring stuff out? What is science's secret sauce? This is a common thing for science classes to start by asking. They usually give terrible answers. To this, they typically give really terrible answers to this. You don't have to take my word for it. You can talk to any philosopher of science who will say, yeah, like everybody is, a lot of working scientists are actually, they have really bad beliefs actually about like what is the secret sauce. And because of this actually gets in the way of us doing science as efficiently as possible. People will say, oh, it's because they pose hypotheses. Yeah, you can actually find whole realms of science where hypothesis finding is not very important. Well, it's because they use peer review. Yeah, peer review started like 60 years ago. We knew most of science before peer review. Well, it's because they are like totally disinterested in what they're talking about. No, false. Most scientists, most famous scientists are crazy people. Some of the best scientists you could ever find, like they had their own private beliefs that were just wild, totally false. They were not disinterested. And honestly, like, even a lot of scientists about the things that they care about and that they believe in as scientists, like they're not disinterested at all. They're like really active partisans in this. What we end up coming down with is we mostly start with, well, in the very first lesson of Science is Weird, we asked this question. We specifically started talking about flat earthism. How is it that you can even know, this is in The Universe is Weird, first lesson of the universe. How is it that you can understand why the earth, well, what the true shape of the earth? And the answer, well, here's what we actually said. Sorry, let me do a good job of showing this. How can you really know something? And we specifically use this to talk about the flat earth. And our answer was, find frenemies to fight you forever. Your false beliefs will fall away. Your true ones will grow stronger. I'm proud of this because it turns out that most of the definitions of the scientific method, not all, but most of those definitions people trumpet are actually things that the flat earth community is doing. I don't say that they're doing it very well, but I don't know. Like oftentimes they're trying to do it well. The secret sauce for science is that people on different sides who are not at all rational, or not, I don't know if they're not rational, but like they're not unbiased. They're super biased people. They come to this idea fight, and they demand evidence from each other, and they keep doing that. And even though they start off being really different in their views, as time goes on, they come closer and closer together. Or at least their students do. Sometimes they just die first. In year one, we tried to take this really seriously, and to do this, I actually ended up having a conversation that we recorded with a very well-known flat Earth proponent. His name is Why am I forgetting his name? This is so embarrassing. If you go to Lost Tools and you look up flat Earth, Mark Sargent, there we go. I was thinking of Dave McKeegan, who's sort of one of his opponents online. And you can watch this interview that I do with Mark Sargent. It's really long. This has actually led to an online rumor that Science is Weird is secretly in favor of a flat Earth model of the world, which I find utterly delightful. And I love that I am taking risks with the business that result in this kind of misunderstanding. I found this out on Facebook. Someone said on my birthday a couple of years ago, I saw somebody in a very well-known Facebook group say, "I heard that Science is Weird is secretly flat Earth. Is this true?" I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is the best birthday present anybody could have given me. So we spent the year kind of talking about that, and I showed students how like They can understand so much about the world if they try to like attack flat earthism or if they try to attack round earthism. You can engage in a belief with someone who's totally wrong. And if you both do this right, if you both stay open to new arguments, new evidences, you will both end up learning so much about so much. This is the secret sauce that makes science work. This is especially important in an age when increasingly people on every side of every issue are finding it icky to talk to people that they disagree with. Society seems to be more and more closing down. I'm not claiming that there's ever a golden age when we were all so open to each other, but more and more most things, especially smart people, are becoming closed to ideas that disagree with their assumptions. This is so dangerous. In the past, in year one, we dealt with this. We tried to teach this to talk about flat earthism. We're approaching year 3. In years 4, 5, and 6, we are going to really start delving into a topic that really matters, not flat earthism, but various environmental things. We talked a bit about these in the past. We've kind of come at this slowly. We'll be talking about climate change. We'll be talking about the expectations for how bad climate change will be. We'll be talking about what causes climate change. We'll be talking about ways of mitigating the effects of climate change. We'll be talking about nuclear power. We'll be talking about geoengineering, geohacking. We're talking about renewable energy sources. We'll be talking about all sorts of things that, I'm going to tell you the truth, even right now you're thinking, oh, my side is right and the other side is a bunch of idiots. Okay, like there are definitely, whatever side of these things you're on, like there are definitely idiots on the other side. There is no side of any of these debates that is bereft of idiots. The idiots we will have with us always. I know this having been an idiot on various sides of various of these debates before. But also you have some very smart people who are arguing on not all sides of this, but like on many sides of many of these kind of topics. We are going to try to take really seriously the smartest people and their best arguments on different sides of these things to show through understanding various environmental scientific questions how you can learn to be reasonable, be open to new evidence, be clear thinking. We talk a little bit about this. If you go to I think it's philosophy 2. The realm of philosophy, science is never meant to be narrow, kids asking questions. We help kids ask big questions, think expansively about how they might be answered. So we talk about what's the big story of life. Yeah. This is not the reasonable thing. We do talk about questions of society. How can we live responsibly on Earth? And does technology help with that or get in the way? Can we end disease? Can we make a flourishing society? How possible is utopia? Is organic food actually good for us and for the world? That'll come in year 4. Can we spread to other planets? Is climate change real? Are humans causing it? How afraid should we be of it? How can we stop it? Are we causing extinctions? How much danger are we to cause our own? That's a terrible way of asking that, but are we going to cause our own extinction? Is the modern world good for us or bad? Philosopher's Club, all the concepts, reasons to hate us, grab a seat. I feel like we have a thing on rationality on here that I'm not finding right now. Yeah, that's right. I admitted that I get lost in my own website. I'm an idiot. It's right here at the top. Reasoning. So we teach this whole series of classes over the summers called Believe It or Not, where we go really deep in this. We take these, pseudoscience, parapsychology, parascience sort of things, Bigfoot, sea monsters, UFOs, psychic powers, and ghosts. We talk about how can we figure out what's real about this, the subtle art of thinking rationally. I'm really proud of this. I'm really proud of these things. This upcoming summer, we'll be doing UFOs. These ones do need to be taken in order. You do need to have taken Bigfoot and sea monsters, be part of UFOs. You can get the recordings online. But we'll be doing this kind of coming up for environmental questions. Okay, so hopefully I've set the stage right now. I'm sorry I took this so long on this. Where we're coming from is flat earthism. What we're trying to go to is which does not matter as a debate. It's really fun. I really enjoy it, I'll tell you the truth. Doesn't matter though. So these things that really do matter and that I care so much about, and we all should care so much about, getting these things right are some of the most important questions we can ask. And so many people get this wrong on every side. So many people get this wrong. I talk to kids who think that there is no hope for the world. And then when I scratch, right, like turns out they believe all sorts of totally wrong things, unbelievably wrong things that no scientist would sign on to. Talk to people who are like, oh, I don't think that there's any problems at all. Nope. These are not, it is not an opinion that any scientist would agree with. So that's where we're going. How can we get there? You ready for it? You're going to hate this, maybe, or love this. I don't care, because I'm really excited about this, and we're going to do this. We're going to be piggybacking off of Hills this year to take on the question of young Earth creationism. Young Earth creationism is in the middle of flat Earthism to climate change. It doesn't matter nearly as much as climate change, but it does matter. If young Earthers are right, then almost all of the biological sciences and physical sciences are lying to us all the time. And either the scientists are too stupid or too pig-headed or just like evil and lying. If young Earth creationism is correct, then you shouldn't trust anything out of any scientist's mouth ever. Almost. I'm probably exaggerating that a little bit. Okay, so there's that. And also, I don't know, like what, 1% of the world population is a flat earther. I mean, throughout history, it's been like about 100%. But like nowadays, it's like 1%. But I don't know, like depending on how you ask the question, you get between 10% and 40% of Americans, and this is probably about true for the world, who are young Earth creationists. Every once in a while, I'll have somebody say, what? No, there's no way that the number is that high or is that low. No, like lots of science has been done. I'm figuring this number. Somewhere between 10 and 40%, depending on how you ask the question, will say that they think that humans didn't evolve, that the Earth is about 6-ish thousand, 10-ish thousand years old. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to totally take this idea on. This is near and dear to my heart because I actually first found out about how awesome science can be and the process of science could be when I became a young Earth creationist when I was in late middle school, 8th grade. I was challenged in a class to do a debate, and I was picked to be on the young Earth creationist side and at my local public school, and I became a young Earth creationist for a while because of what turned out to be some very bad evidences that I found out in the early World Wide Web. And they were convincing to me because I didn't know what good evidence looked like. And I became a young Earth creationist for like a year, maybe a year and a half before I reasoned myself out of it. That was my first taste for how like actual pieces of evidences can change how you see everything in the world. So exciting. So, and this part that I'm talking about right now will not actually be very much part of the classes this year. This will kind of exist around the classes, though I'll be mentioning them sometimes in class. We'll be doing a few different things. One is that I will be doing conversations with young Earth creationists online. Specifically, we'll be focusing on the Hills part of this, the geology part of this, which is that almost all young Earth creationists, not all, intriguingly, but almost all young Earth creationists these days adhere to a theory called flood geocatastrophism. Basically, the idea that all the layers of the Earth that we see that have fossils in them were caused in Noah's flood, this great worldwide flood. I'll be having these recording conversations with young Earth creationists about this. Conversations kind of like the kind that I did with Mark Sargent, the flat earther, where I take an argument and they take an argument. We talk about it and we see if we can do that. We'll probably have people vote for us online to see like who came off as the kinder, who came across as the more open-minded, who came across as the more convincing, who came across as the right. The point of this is to show kids, show the kids in our community and anybody else on the internet who wants to watch this, that you can do this. The other side isn't icky. You can boldly look into ideas. You don't need to be afraid of ideas that you really disagree with. That if you conduct your conversations in a certain way, you can make friends over disagreements. I do this with friends all the time. But philosophical and political and scientific and whatever kind of disagreements. So delightful. Okay, so that's one thing that I will be doing. I'll be inviting kids to kind of vote on that and give comments on that. But then we'll be running not one, not two, but 3 different contests. The first 2 will be open to anybody on the internet. The final one will be open just to Science is Weird students. Okay, so contest number 1. It's not enough to just talk to people who believe differently than you if you really want to find truth. You need to focus on what the best arguments of the other side are. So we are going to be helping young Earth creationists prove evolution wrong. Now, look, I'm an evolutionist. I'm an evolutionist the old-fashioned way. I came from anti-evolution, and I was convinced slowly by the facts for evolution. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. I'm like 99 point something confident that I'm right. But like, maybe I'm wrong. Now, you can never be 100% confident of anything. So we will be having a contest to open up to anybody on the internet to ask them, what are the best evidences that you can come up with against, let me say this very clearly, for a worldwide flood, for a worldwide flood being the thing that caused all of the different layers of rock that we see that have fossils in them, the flood geocatastrophism. Technically, there are some ways of being a young Earth creationist where you say that I think that God created the Earth with the illusion of age. Well, okay, cool. That's actually, like, you then don't actually differ from modern science in any way about what evidence you expect to see. So that's fine. Scientifically, that's fine. That's fine. It's not something that science can actually touch. So great, whatever. So then we'll be asking, they'll be running this contest, which means that we'll be giving like at least $100 of my own money to somebody who has, I'm thinking we'll have a panel of judges, one young Earth creationist, one old Earth creationist, and one mainstream sedimentary geologist. We'll be having them make a vote for like, which of those is the best evidence. I'll be making response videos to each of the arguments that are put forward on this as a way of showing more about geology. Yeah. So anyway, we're willing to spend some money to show that this is how you get good science, right? Like, this is how you change your mind about things. This is how you engage ideas. You want to engage with the best of either side. That's contest number 1. Contest number 2 is almost the opposite of that. I will be giving some of the best evidences for, like the mainstream geological position that like, no, like all of the Earth is billions of years old and you can see it if you look at the rocks and you understand what you're looking at. So, like the 5 or something like best pieces of evidence that the Earth is actually billions of years old. The contest is, how, if you believe that the Earth is young, the Earth is only a few thousand years old, what's the best way of explaining these evidences? You could just say like, I think they're all fake. Okay, maybe. That's one way you can take that. There are other arguments that people can come up with, and people have come up with them. I don't think that they make that much sense when you put them together. I think they all contradict each other in some interesting ways. So it's wanting to come up with an alternate model of this. Every once in a while in young Earth creationism, you have people coming up with new models of ways of making sense of how we see things. Cool. I want to help young Earth creationists come up with new models for seeing this. This is me being supportive of their community because, hey, there's a very small chance, in my mind, that I'm totally wrong about this. And if that's the case, I want to be shown that I'm wrong. So that's contest number 2. I'll give $100 of my own money for that too. If you want to make this a bigger contest and get more attention for it, feel free to donate some money to us. We can include that money in the prizes for this. And the third contest is we want to bare our throats totally. Wow, I have suntanned. Happy summer to everybody. Bare our throats totally and say, hey, there's actually one really easy way that you could prove wrong, that a young earther could prove wrong all of evolution. They could prove that all of these fossils were made in one giant flood. And that would be to find a fossil in a place where it really shouldn't be. There's this period where you only have like weird bugs. Then you have a period where you have like weird fish. And then you have this period where you have reptiles. And you have a period where you like all the dinosaurs die and you have like birds and mammals. And then you have like giant mammals. If you find a camel fossil back in the Jurassic period, that basically proves evolution wrong. At least it proves totally wrong the mainstream theory of the Earth's history. If you find a rabbit fossil, this is famous, comes from a quote from the evolutionist Stephen Jay Gould. You find a rabbit fossil in the Precambrian, before we even had like bones or even fish. Congratulations, like you have just proven the mainstream model wrong. This is where our whole like helping kids find fossils and learn how to find fossils, this is where this intersects with this. We'll be giving prizes for like who has the prettiest fossil, who has the biggest fossil, who has the et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we will give $1,000 prize for any family inside of Science is Weird who can find a fossil in a rock layer that it is currently believed to not have been alive in. Does that make sense? So you might think, well, the odds of that are like 0. No, they're not. Look, T-Rexes. T-Rexes lived in the Cretaceous period, right? Came after the Jurassic. And they died because of the asteroid or whatever, right? They died at that point. But did all of the T-Rexes die? Probably somewhere in the world. Some T-Rex survived for, I don't know, like 100 years after. Some small population. Think of this as the Land Before Time scenario with the Great Valley. Everything is dying, but there's like one little period, one little spot where like things are still okay. Probably that was the case somewhere. We haven't found any dinosaur bones in that situation, but it's probable that they exist somewhere. Wouldn't it be cool if one of our families was able to find that on a less epic way? Like T-Rexes evolved at a certain spot in the Maastrichtian, last part of the Cretaceous. But maybe, that's what we think right now, but maybe there's a T-Rex that evolved before the Maastrichtian. We can show you how to identify what your local fossil layer is, or your local rock layer is, and like how to look for bones. Or other kinds of fossils, like in this period. So it's entirely possible that we will actually make a significant find by doing this. And if you do that, we'll give you $1,000 of my money and maybe some more money if people want to donate to this. And we will help you write this up as a scientific paper and get this published in a journal. We can't guarantee this, but like we will help you do this. Anyway, to put this back in context, we are going to help young Earth creationists prove evolution wrong. I don't think it can be done because I think that evolution is right. I think that the mainstream version of Earth's history is correct, but I can never be 100% sure of that. The only way I can become more sure of that is by helping the other side make their case. So that is this big thing that we'll be doing around the Science is Weird curriculum for this year. So I'm very excited about that. Okay, wonderful. We're late in this. My goodness, we're late. This is, by the way, par for the course for me. It's thanks for watching to the end of this. 20 seconds if anybody wants to ask any questions about this, that, or the other things. See, because it took so long, it's now kind of a bit late in the day for me to be drinking coffee. But it makes me happy. So, okay, we're going to go. Everybody, thanks. Shoot me an email if you have any questions. Toodles.